Alrighty, wanted to leave that on the screen for a little bit. I am going to go fast and furious here. I'm going to put an end to the situation I keep running into with folks that are having issues with this system. So what I'm going to do is do a rapid fire run through of configuration with an Apache Labs Anan, passing audio virtually back and forth to the radio on TX and RX, running the RX DSP system on the Anan. All right, I'm going to say right up front, if this doesn't work, if you do exactly what I show you how to do it, what to do, if it doesn't work, there's two reasons why. One, it's a hardware incompatibility issue, and I can tell you that it will run on an i5. It will probably run on something even more inferior than that. Secondly, if it doesn't work, it's user error. I always say this, and this is speaking from personal experience. I'm not talking about anybody else. 99.999999999% of the time, it's user error. Has nothing to do with the hardware or software. It could be the hardware where you have problems. Now, I'm going to put a caveat, a disclaimer right up front. Sometimes this system, because of voice meter banana, becomes unstable. It is not bomb-proof. The best way to do this, if you really want the RX DSP on the Anan that I'm running, the best way to do it would be to bring your audio analog into the radio. The late model Anans, I believe, have a line in the back of the rig. Mine does not. I don't believe so. At least there's no jack for it. I'd have to bring it into the front of the 200D and go from there. Hey, Mike, how's it going? And James, formal shout out to you guys. All right. I don't want to be abrasive, but this is becoming a real problem. I just don't have time to hold people's hand. I'm sorry. Do your homework. And I'm going to step through this video in steps so that it's literally step by step by step by step. If it doesn't work, like I said, it's user error or it's a hardware incompatibility issue. I'm running an i7 9700 Coffee Lake, 32 gigs of RAM, clocked at about 4.8 gigs. It's not a barn burner, but it's a pretty good computer. All right. So let me get over the screen and I'm going to move right along. No fluff here. So this is the to-do first list and hardware needs. You will need a sound card with phantom power if your microphone requires it. You need to download and install the following. And I'll leave this on the screen so that people have a visual reference of what you need. First thing you need to download is VB audio cable. Install it. Voice meter banana. Download and install. Cakewalk by BandLabs. And you need to, I would recommend installing Cakewalk before you download and install the VST plugins. Okay. Now this is for the TX side. This is for the TX side. It's to bring your TX audio into the Apache. And this is in reference to the Apache Labs. It may work. You may be able to do this on other transceivers. Most likely you could do it on any transceiver that has a sound card option to pass audio virtually in and out of the rig. Next, you want the CWP file for the TX side on the website. Pay attention. Do not go too fast. Stick to exactly what I said here and what you see on the screen. Okay, CWP file for TX on the website. Website is listed. It's in the description of this video. Link to that website. All VST plugins located on the website. That's on the VST download page. okay? Link in the description again. You will need to download and install VST host. And also you need the drivers for your sound card. And hey, Ed, how's it going, man? TF3XO, greetings. Okay, moving on. That's out of here. Okay. Once that stuff is installed, what I need you to do first is, so that CWP file I talked about, this is the TX profile, okay? This is the launch file. You download that to your desktop. Once Cakewalk and all of the VST plugins are installed, all you need to do is click that file that's located on the website, and it will open this. And you will have to go in and edit the EQ, all of these plugins to match your voice and what you want it to sound like. This is a profile for my microphone, my voice, my setup. All right. If you don't know how to do that, you need to educate yourself on how to do that. I'm not going to go through that. All right. This is not for the faint of heart. If you're new to this, it's going to be a work in progress. Okay. I have thousands of hours into this crap. I spent 9 months putting all this information together. There's no way I can cover the basic fundamentals of how to make this stuff work. I can show you how to make it work, but for you to understand it, you need to go in, you need to understand what all these plugins do. Okay, I can't do it, I'm sorry. Compressors, limiters, EQs, exciters, downward expanders, gates, reverb systems, tube saturators. I mean, it's all in here. You may get lucky, and with the microphone you're using, it may be fairly close. Most likely not. Okay. One thing I wanted to say is keep in mind signal flow. All right. Hey, Ed from Austria. How's it going, man? Keep in mind signal flow. Treat all of these plugins, all of this signal flow. It has to start somewhere. So let's say you think of all of this as water coming out of the kitchen faucet, okay? So you open the valve, water begins to flow out of the faucet, and it has a beginning point and an end point, okay? So if you change one of these, let's say you change the tube saturator, if you make a change to this, you will have to go in and reset the levels on each one after this, and as you go down the list, because it changes the pipe diameter of that flow. You see what I'm saying? So signal flow is important. Treat it like water going down the drain. Comes out of the faucet, hits the sink, which is the next plug-in, heads down that drain, goes to the next plug-in, goes through a bend or a curve, and the PVC maybe merges with another pipe. There's another plug-in, and then all the way down to the chain until it goes out it gets to its destination, which would be the septic tank or whatever you got, or city water, whatever. You understand? I guess you guys hopefully understand that. Everything has a beginning and an end. I'm done with that. Okay, so once you install all the plugins, download and install Cakewalk. Actually, I have that backwards. Install Cakewalk first, download and install the plugins. When you open that CWP file, you download that off the website. It's called the .cwp. You'll see it on there. It will open this, and it will look exactly like this, okay? Next thing you want to do is you want to open Banana, Voice Meter Banana. Remember, you have to download and install this. Now, your whatever sound card you're using, hardware input 1 needs to be set. This is where your microphone plugs in. Your microphone plugs into that sound card. Okay, so you go to hardware input 1 right here, and you choose whatever driver works for you. If you're running on ASIO, you may be able to use the KS. A WDM or MME may work. I can't help you with that. You have to figure out which one works. The M-Audio Air 192.4 stereo is the card I'm using. The microphone plugs into that. It does require phantom power. Phantom power is on. That's what you're hearing. Okay. So once that's done, set it to mono. and select B2. Okay, this should pipe audio into voice meter aux right here under virtual inputs. If you don't have audio, you may have to select B1. Voice meter is weird. I don't know why that happens, but you may have to select B1. Ignore everything else that you're seeing right now. I'm just telling you step by step how to configure it, and I'm not going to say that again. Okay, so up here, hardware out, you need to select your hardware out. So under A1, I have ASIO, M-Audio Air 192 for ASIO, or whatever sound card that you're using. If it's an ASIO-driven sound card and you download and install the drivers for the sound card, you need to select that. If it's ASIO, if it's not ASIO, you'll be on WDM or MME. Okay, make sure A1 is selected there. I'm going to ignore A2 because I have, like if you needed to send audio to your Realtek speakers, you could select WDM Realtek speakers on A2. Okay, A3, this is important. This is for the future. Remember, you downloaded and installed VB audio cable, VB cable. If that's installed, if it's installed, you will see it here. You need to select MME cable input on A3. All right. That's for the future. That's not in reference to the TX side. Now the TX side, now that that's configured, okay, ignore the A2 right here. Ignore this. This is getting audio to OBS. A2 I have set to Realtek speakers, and I have that selected in OBS because you can't share ASIO drivers. All right? Ignore that for now. We're talking about the TX audio. This is something specific to me. If you're going to do any streaming and you need to pipe the audio to the streaming software, post Cakewalk, processed audio, that's where that comes in. Enough said. All right. Now, we need to come over here to Cakewalk. Go to Edit, Preferences, and under Devices, select Voice Meter Aux Virtual ASIO. On the input and the output, make sure that is checked. Hit Apply, OK, boom. That is done. You can also adjust the driver settings for buffer, for latency. That's right here. And let me check in the chat quick. Costa, good to see you. K0KOZ, seems like you're new. Welcome to the Madhouse. And Caesar, how you doing? VE3DIG, the digger. All right, move it on. Once that's done, hit Apply, OK. That is done. At this point, you should see audio moving when you talk into the microphone. Okay. Don't forget to set your levels, your input drive on your card. Make sure the sound card is not being overdriven with where the mic plugs in. Mine comes into input 1. If I go over here to desk cam, this is the card right here. Microphone is coming into channel 1 right here. That's the gain. That's the gain knob right there. So make sure you're not overdriving this because this is the very first thing that's going to pick up the audio from your microphone and it's going to send it through the system. Okay. That's the first thing you got to do. Probably should have said that right out of the gate. But again, I'm not taking anything for granted. This is for people who have never done this before. All right. You should see audio moving. You should see the meter moving in Banana under Voice Meter Aux right here. See this meter right here? And you should see the meter moving in Cakewalk. All right. Now we're moving over to Thetis. So we'll go over to Thetis, or whatever rig you're on, go to Setup, Audio. You want your VAC1 on Thetis, or whatever your sound card is on whatever the rig you're running. And you want this set to ASIO, driver ASIO, voice meter virtual ASIO. Voice meter virtual ASIO on the input and output. Enable VAC1. Here's the situation. pay attention to your buffer latency, your ring buffer, and your poor audio. You may have to fuss with this to get your overflows and underflows stable. Right now, this computer's pretty snappy, so I'm able to run at 20 on the input, and all of the other boxes are unchecked. If you want it to run completely stable, uncheck all of these. The latency will be pretty bad, but it does work and it'll stay clean. So you're going to have to play with this on the Apache. Okay, once that's done, apply, okay. That is complete. So if oh God, I'm on the wrong camera. Oh, grief. Okay, let me back up. There's so much to go over here. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to do this again. Okay. Okay, so let's back up. Good grief, man. Voice meter banana. You should see the meter moving on voice meter banana, and once Cakewalk right here is configured properly. So let's go back. Don't forget to go into Cakewalk, edit preferences, go to devices, voice meter aux virtual ASIO, voice meter aux virtual ASIO. Both those boxes need to be checked on the input and output. Here you can select your driver settings, buffer size. Okay. If for some reason, I'm glad I came back. If for some reason you don't see voice meter aux in there, as far as the ASIO drivers, you need to come into playback and recording and select ASIO in driver mode. Okay, that's important because you won't even see it as an option here in devices. All right, so in driver settings, you make playback and recording, you need to make sure this is set to ASIO. Don't touch anything else in here. Leave it alone. Driver settings. That's good. Driver settings, you can adjust the buffer. In here, mine's running at 128 samples. Obviously, the higher number you go, the more latency you're going to get, but you're going to get it more stable. Okay, so you may need to play with that. Input and output, like I said before, voice meter aux. Okay, once that's done, apply OK. And come back to, let me move this over here. Okay, you should see meters moving at this point. When you're talking to the microphone, you'll see meters moving. You're good to go on the TX. Now back over to Thetis, go to Thetis, setup or whatever rig you're on, go to your VAC or your sound card. You need to select the ASIO driver, and you need voice meter virtual ASIO on the in and the out. Click enable. Come over here on Thetis, look at your buffer latency milliseconds. You will probably have to play with this depending on your hardware and what you're running for a sound card. I can run my input on the ring buffer at 20 checked, and you'll see no overflows or underflows. The latency will be a little bit high. Don't think you'll be able to talk through the monitor without stumbling over your words, but it's not too bad. Always work for stability over speed. Anytime you're dealing with virtual audio, you may be able to enable all of these and then start playing with the numbers until you get the latency very low and your overflows and underflows stay stable. Okay. Once that's done, apply OK. That is complete. So you will have audio passing in and out of the Anan. All right. That is complete on the TX side. You're done. When you key that radio, you should have audio going into the Anan. You should have TX audio. If you don't, it's user error or there's an issue with some kind of hardware somewhere. All right, moving on to the RX side. Here's where things get nitty and gritty. And you're welcome, Andy. Hey, Tim. So we're moving on to the RX side. So you should have downloaded VST host. And remember, we were talking about VB audio cable. Important. So I'm going to show you. let's get Cakewalk out of here because that's irrelevant at this point. So I'm going to just hit the minimize, send that to the tray, and I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to pull Banana over here. At this point, we don't need to touch Thetis as far as setup goes. Thetis is done. So if you installed VB cable and VST host, I'll show you how to get all of this running. So we need to get the audio from the Anan, which is playing back through right here on Voicemeeter Banana, Voicemeeter Vio. The audio, remember the Voicemeeter virtual ASIO we set on the input and output? Well, that is going to send the audio from the Anan to here, but it's not going to send it to VST host where we need to do our RX audio processing for the DSP. Okay, so remember we were talking about the hardware outputs right here on Banana. So if you go to A3 again, remember we set this to cable input. Don't try to understand this right now. Just do exactly what I tell you to do. All right. So the hardware out is cable input on the VB audio cable. Just do it. Don't ask questions. Now here is your Voicemeeter Vio channel strip. Now we need to send that audio, the raw audio from the front end of the Anan, to VST host. So you need to make sure A3, this button right here, is checked, is on. So go ahead and click that. All right, now we're going to come over to VST host. The reason why you don't hear the Anan is because I have the AGC slammed shut. And I'll show you when it lights up. I wish I could do a configuration file for VST host. I haven't tried it yet. If I do that, if I'm successful, I will post it on the website, but I don't think it's going to work because all your VST plugins would have to be located in the exact same place that mine are. Whether it would find them or not, I don't know. So there's a great video tutorial on VST host online. Just type in VST host setup on YouTube, and they will walk you through exactly how to put plugins in and how to chain them. Okay. Here are all the plugins on VST host. So I have, and you are going to, remember I told you to download all the plugins. On the website, you're going to need to download all those plugins. So the Brit Presser is first. You got your engine input, Brit Presser, and when VST host opens, it's going to open natively with engine input and engine output. That's all that's going to be there. All right, so you need to basically grab those plugins. So you can do a scan, a fast rescan. You can set the plugin path for where it looks for the plugins. You may need to do that. It may find them. If it opens and it doesn't find the plugins, then you're going to need to tell it where to go to get the plugins. Now, remember your plugins. I told you to install Cakewalk first and then the VST plugins. So most likely, if you're smart, you installed the VST plugins into the Cakewalk VST plugin directory. Score on that. So if you set your plugin path to look at that area, it will find all the plugins. There's one caveat I wanted to mention with the Brit Presser. This is the first plugin that goes in the chain. This is running as a limiter and mild compression, but mostly limiting. All right, don't ask why. If you go to plugins right here, you should see a list of all the plugins available. All right, so here's the Brit Presser right here. Sometimes VST host gets a little quirky, and it would much prefer a 32-bit version of the plugin. Now, some of these plugins come in as 32-bit and 64-bit, so you may have to play with that. I'm making no guarantees here. Okay, so this is where you select all your plugins. So you select a plugin. When you select it, it will pop it into this window. You're going to have to go and tell it where to set the plugin path, and for some reason I'm missing. It's cutting off the plugins. Let me see if I can get that. Drag this way. There we go. Drag it this way. At least get them on the screen so you can see what they look like and what's going on here. So you'll need to set the plugin path. So you'll see, and again, that video I described, I'm just going to show you quickly how to do it. And I did this on another video. So you'll have a plugin that you selected and it popped in between the engine input and engine output. All right. But the engine output is going to be listening to the output of the Brit presser and the engine input. You don't want that. So you're going to have to go in, you hit this button, top left corner on a plugin, and it's going to show you, like ignore these right here. At this point, it's going to show you engine input and Brit presser, and most likely both of these are going to be checked. So what you're going to do is you're going to chain, you're going to tell it what to listen to. Remember signal flow, everything has a starting point and an end point. So it comes from the engine input to the Brit presser. So the Brit presser you'll set to listen to the output of the engine input, and you'll see this yellow line snap to the engine input, between the Brit presser input and the engine input output. Okay, so now you need to go to the engine output right here and hit that little link button in the top left corner, and you will select Brit presser and deselect engine input, and that will create the chain, one to another, to another, to another, and you need to do that to every single plugin that you add. Done. Once that's complete, you can come up here to engine. Most likely you'll have to make sure that these are checked, what it looks like here. Let's see, let me run through a couple. If you hit configure, you should see assign input channels. You should see cable output, engine input 1 and 2, output channels. You should see speaker M audio error 192.4 or whatever sound card you have. However, they may not be there. Okay, it may not be there at this point, but that's where you can see exactly what's going on. All right, go back to engine. You'll probably have to click run. All right. Again, that may show up. Be careful in this area. Okay, the thing that's super important here, VST host, the next step, you need to go to devices, wave, and you need on the input port, you need to select MME cable output. Don't ask. On the input port, you need to select cable output. Your brain is probably thinking, why shouldn't I select cable input? It doesn't work that way. Remember signal flow. It comes out to in, out to in, out to in, out to in, or vice versa, in to out. You kind of see where I'm going? Depending on how you look at it. The way VB cable works is it will, remember in, where are we? In banana, A3, see, we're sending audio out through this A3 hardware output to the input of VB cable. So to get the audio into VST host, we need to grab the cable output on the input port. So it's flowing out of the output of the cable and it's coming into the input port, right? So there you go on that. Output port, select MME, whatever sound card you're using. This will pipe the processed audio directly to your sound card, and it'll play back through your speakers and your headphones. Make sure your sample rates are all the same. I'll run through that in a brief moment. 500 samples is what I run. If you're running VB cable, this can become very quirky, and you may not be able to run a very low sample rate. Sometimes I can run it literally as low as 64. But yeah, it goes sideways. See, I can run it as quick as that, 64 samples. Seems to be somewhat stable on 500, but when I light the rig up, I don't know what's going to happen. So that may be a good demonstration of how it can go sideways on you. And we're coming to that. All right. Now, the sample rate, check. Let me get my sounds panel. Go to the bottom right-hand corner. And this is for Windows. If you're on Windows, you should have a speaker icon on your bottom right-hand corner next to your clock and your date. You want to right-click on that. And if it shows sounds, select sounds. I'm on Windows 10. And when this opens, go to recording and go to your primary sound card, which is the sound card you're using that your microphone is plugged into and what you're listening to as far as speakers, headphones of the audio coming out of the rig. Okay. Right click, go to properties, advanced. Make sure that is set. I would run it at 48 kilohertz. There are times when and I've gone over this before, there are times when one of the pieces of software hijacks a sample rate and it goes to 44.1. Every single time you boot the computer or you light your software up, do this. Go in and look at the properties on your input of your sound card. And make sure and go to advanced, make sure that is at 48 kilohertz. You noticed over here, it's at 48 kilohertz. Make sure all of your software, Cakewalk, Banana, BST host, Thetis is all running at 48 kilohertz. All right, very important, because if it switches to 44.1, what's going to happen is you're going to sound like you're talking low and slow. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be all screwed up. If that happens, that's the problem. It switched it to 44.1. Don't know why. The M Audio card, it does that. On the M Audio card, it doesn't do it to the other cards. I've got 4 cards here. The Tascam 1641, which is a commercial studio card. The Behringer UM2 and the Mackie. It never happens on those cards, only on the M Audio card. Don't know why. Heads up. Done. All right. So now what we are going to do is we are going to get the audio on. Let me click on Thetis here. And we will find a signal. Let's find one that's fairly consistent without QRM. That looks pretty good right there. All right, and I'm going to bring the AGC up until we have audio come roaring in. Here we go.
Fire Prevention Week. This is N4F, November 4 Foxtrot. CQ National Fire Prevention Week. CQ National Fire Prevention Week. This is N4F, November.
Oh, man. But, yeah, whatever floats your boat. You're exactly right. If anybody else, let them will check NKX4DX.
Okay.
Well, I got that test.
Okay, now what we're going to do.
CW.
Well, my CW is a little rusty, but well, maybe.
Okay, so now what we're looking for, all right, I am going to get VST host. Let's get back on the screen. Let's hit cancel. And we're going to get Banana back on the screen. Now, I'm not dealing with TX audio at this point. This is strictly for the RX DSP. All right, so when I bring the audio in, you're going to see this meter move. This is what you want to see on the voice meter VIO channel strip. All right, and you're going to see the meters light up over here on VST host. So let me get the audio, bring the audio up.
Can you copy him, Bob?
Yeah, I was actually hearing them there a little bit.
Thank you, so. Yeah. Well, like I said, the band is up and down. It's you're down to about 7 again, and then you're probably going to go back up to about 10 over.
Okay. So there are some things that the next step I wanted to show you in regards to the RxDSP, all right, is if you pay attention to where, and I wanted to keep this on the screen so you can set the Brit presser up accordingly. I've got heavy limiting on here, heavy. And what this does, as you saw, this is the limiter meter. So you'll see this meter almost peg. And what that does is it will crush the strong signals. See, he's 10 over or 15 over. And it will keep the weak, it will allow the weak signals to come through. And what it tends to do is it smooths the audio out and allows you to run a very, very quiet system, even on the weaker signals, without having to ride the gain so much that, you know, you get the difference between an S5, S7, S9 and like a 20 over is quite stark natively on a front end of a rig, right? Especially like an S5, S7 to 20 over, good God. So you're constantly farting with the gain to keep it under control so you don't blow the speakers off, you know, knock them off the shelf or shred the cones. So that's what this is for. You may have to play with this. Now on the limiter side, notice where everything is set. Set it up exactly like this. If you don't, that's on you. You may have to play with the gain, and this is the limiter threshold, and this is the compression threshold. All right, you don't want more compression than you have limiting. All right, so if you take this and you move it up, right, you left click and hold, and the higher the number, the less limiting you're going to have. It's counterintuitive. All right, so if I see if anybody's in there. No, nobody's in there. So let's get to Thetis, find a consistent signal.
640 meters, and it's up about 25 feet.
Well, actually, I'll give you 5'9". 5'9".
All right, I got you 5'9", North Carolina. Thank you for the partner and the special event station. Have a good one.
November 4 Golf, yours head.
Okay, that's a great example. You had one station that was blasting, and then you had another one that was weak. Now, it didn't sound weak, but that's what the system does. I call it the cloud lifter for the front end of a radio. It's like the RX cloud lifter. Takes the audio, brings up the weak signals, and suppresses the strong signals and tries to, and hopefully smooths them out, which works in 99% of the time. All right, so let's go back down here.
Bob, I can just barely copy you. Ben is really going down.
He's an S7.
Hey, way down in the mud there. Way down in the mud. Well, let's call it here. I'll be monitoring you.
Okay, that's an S7 and a 15 over. So that gives you an idea of the power of that system. Unbelievable as far as making people copyable. You know, so going back, there's a couple things I wanted to show you. So let's get VST host up and going. So play with the limiter. All right. More limiting you have, the more it's going to crush the really strong signals, but there may be a point of diminishing returns. So pay attention to where these are. I'm going to go through it audibly. So I have compression, the threshold at 4, the recovery at 100, at 1.5 to 1 on the bottom knob here. And this is the gain. You may have to play with this. All right. My gain is set, I don't know, probably up around 14. Let's see. Limiter up here in the limiter window where the knobs are, I have this set to 50. And there you go. The mix is set to always wet. Always. 0 on the high, 0 on the mid, and off on the the high pass filter. Okay. That's the way mine is set. If you set yours differently, that's on you. I'm just showing you how I run mine, and it works for me. You can play with it. And this is the reason why I'm doing this video, so you have a reference. You can go back and get it straightened out if you mess it up. All right. One thing I wanted to mention, two things actually. Here in VST host, if you start getting latency, like an abhorrent amount of latency over a period of, let's say, an hour or 2 hours, go up here to devices, go to wave, and just click OK. And what that does is it restarts very quickly. It restarts the engine, and your latency should go back to normal. It's just an issue with VST host. You can do the same thing, and I've done this successfully with Voicemeeter Banana. You go to Menu, Restart Audio Engine. You can do that, and it will restart your audio engine for you. Okay? Start to finish, baby. No holds barred. Bare knuckle. Right to the freaking bone, Johnson. There you go. That is the complete configuration for how to make this work. Let me go through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the plugins on VST host to finalize everything. We just went through the Brit presser. Let me get this open full screen. This is very important because I want you guys to understand how to set this up. The next plugin in the chain is the Reefer plugin. All right, so you would go up here to File, Plugins, and you need Reefer right there. Hopefully you installed it. If it ain't there, you didn't install it, or VST host is not looking in the right place. You click on that and it will load this plugin, the Reefer standalone. All right, did I do that right? Plugins. Make sure I'm not giving you bupkis. Okay. Oh, yes, that is the correct one. So what you do, let's close this. So to configure these plugins, click that little button right there. I know it's tough to see. In the plugin box, you're going to have to set the chain. You're going to have to set this up using this top left-hand button, which opens this window. See this? So I have this following the Brit presser. So you want to make sure the engine input is unchecked. Brit presser is checked. So this is grabbing audio from the output of the Brit presser. Okay. Now go to this button right here, plug in edit, and it will open this window. You want to set this mode to subtract, points flat, leave your gain alone. You can add as many points as you want by right-clicking on the red line. So this is the frequency spectrum. So what you want to do is you want to set, first of all, you want to go to Thetis, okay? Let me get over here, and I'm probably going to have to mute the audio because you're going to need to see the audio to understand this. So let's go here. This is important. I got to cover this so you guys understand how to set this up. Well, first of all, if you look at this, you see this waveform coming up on the bottom of the screen. This entire system is being driven by the AGCT. It could be on a flex. It could be on the RF gain on the Sun. It could be on any SDR radio. The only thing that you will have to touch once this is configured is the AGCT. It's going to drive it all. Okay, so if we come over here, how am I going to do this without you guys hearing it? Because I want you to see it. Okay, let me bring this in. And I'm going to just pick a frequency where people are yapping. So that looks pretty clean. Okay. This is so incredibly complex to explain to people. It's easy. It's easy to do, but just to explain it, good Lord. Okay, so now that I've got both of these, the Thetis, it could be any SCR software pan adapter you're running on the screen, and you can see VST host running. Now this is, remember, this is the Reefer standalone subtract plugin. Select subtract, points flat, leave the gain alone, and you see this is the waveform coming up. Okay, now by default, this red line is probably going to be up here. So what you need to do is you need to create some points across here on the frequency. So I have points roughly 50 hertz, 200 hertz. What is that, about 600 hertz? And you can place them anywhere you want, really. This is just for fine tuning. Probably 1600 hertz, 3 kilohertz, and 4 kilohertz. All right. And then what I do is I take a point and I add a point. Like, you can right click. So if you right click on this line, it says insert point, and it will put a point there. And then you can left click and you can drag it. So I have it completely shut off. I don't need to listen above 4 kilohertz because I don't run above 4 kilohertz. So why would I want any noise or any crap in there? So I slam the door shut on it. That's what you do. So move these lines down until your vertical waveforms penetrate the threshold of that line. Okay, now keep in mind, you see this right here on Thetis? See this white line? This is the AGCT. So the more open you run your AGCT, and you can see the meters getting slammed here on the Brit presser and VST host, the more open you run this, the more it's going to hurt you. So what you want to do is, once you get these, set your the AGCT, set this so it's at a reasonable level above, in other words, close, shut down of the signal you're listening to in relation to the signal you're listening to, right? So do that first. And then you can see like the waveforms trying to pop up there, stuff like that. You'll be able to run the AGCT on the Apache very, very tight. I'm waiting for this guy to come back. If you see him come back, we'll do a little test here and we'll watch that waveform, and you'll see what happens when I close the AGCT down. I guess he's not going to come back. Okay, so let's go over here to this guy. And I lost all my stuff. Okay. Okay, so that's not a particularly strong signal. He's only about, well, yeah, he's pretty strong. He's S9, right? So if you watch this waveform right here, I'm going to help you guys understand how this is working. See the limiter up here getting slammed? Now bring this up. The AGC, see the line moving right here? Bring your AGCT up until the audio starts to shut down, starts to die. And you'll notice you can run the AGCT like through the freaking roof, man. And that is pretty freaking quiet on the Anan. So set this at a decent level, maybe set it about there, right? And watch this waveform in VST host, and make sure this red line, you can drag it up and down. See, watch. You left click and hold, and you drag all your points up and down. Drag this down to the point where you have, and listen, you have audio coming through on let's say an S9 signal, and the waveform is penetrating through this red line. Once you get that set, you're done. Because the noise is generally not in the 50 hertz realm, down below 100 hertz. So I keep this pretty low on the left side. Only because if you're listening to any ESSB Voodoo audio, you want to hear that. So in that, static crashing is not producing audio down around 50 to 100 hertz. It's just, it's too low. And if you want that real guttural, you want to hear people's like guttural bottom end and that real sweet ESSB and voodoo type stuff, don't run this too high. This point right here, down around the 50 hertz mark. You'll see the curve on it. I got it pulled down a little bit. All right. Once that's done, history on that. Now what you want to do is, I took the gate out. I used to run a reefer standalone, another reefer standalone right after it, and I had it configured. You'll see a gate here. I had it configured as a gate. I was like, doesn't really help me, to be honest with you, because this one right here almost acts like a gate. If any audio, like when it goes quiet, drops below that red line, it shuts it off completely. So that's kind of like a dual purpose system. All right. The Bird Tom Denoiser right here. Go find that sucker. Open this up. Let me explain how this works a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to set the primary noise. I found running this, I have this set. So these knobs right here, they set basically your high pass, low pass, right? So if I take this and I drag it down, left click, hold it on the knob and drag it down, you'll see that knob move, but you'll also see these numbers change right here. So I will set this. So let's say around, set it about the top end. So this will be the top end. I got it set at around 4.7 kilohertz. The bottom, there's no point in going down low. You don't need to do that because most of your hash and trash is going to be up high. So maybe set that so the bottom right here is, I don't know, maybe 400, 500 hertz, somewhere in there. And you'll see it moves the top one as well a little bit. So you got to kind of fuss with this. Now, these sliders right here, if you take this slider and you move it straight up, it takes the noise reduction aspect out. The further down you drop these sliders, the more noise reduction you're going to get, the more effect you're going to get. This threshold right here, if you slide this threshold down, the less noise reduction you're going to get. If you slide it up, the more it's going to apply noise reduction. Okay, so you can kind of play, you can hear it too. You can play with it and you can set these whatever suits your fancy, whatever works for you. But I figured I'd just explain how that plugin works. It's a good plugin. So that's it on the Denoiser. Here's what I'm talking about with the Cloud Lifter. So this is like a Cloud Lifter type situation. All right. The next one would be the Bitsonic sound recovery. All right, that's going to be that one right there. Bitsonic sound recovery. All right. Now, once you bring it into VST host and you set the chain, click on that little icon right there. And if I can grab this, I can drag it over. Actually, I'll leave this. No, I wonder if I should drag it over here. This is your Cloud Lifter. What this does is it takes all of the audio that is being stripped of noise and processed prior to this plugin. Yeah, hold on for a second. Takes all of the audio prior to this plugin, and what it does is it lifts it up out of the noise. All right, so what I do is I run it in the Denoiser profile. So if you click this button, select Denoiser. When you load this plugin, turn your speakers down because I don't know why they have it set like this, but it is going to blow everything up. It's going to be loud. It's going to be distorted, horrible. So this is what you want for your settings, okay? Usually I take this and I move this down here. I don't know why that's up there like that. Let me go through the settings. So the first thing you want to do, I have my input. You may have to fuss with the input and the recovery. If it's distorted or it's too hot, I have the input set at 12, recovery set at 14. Seems to be a good level. And split frequency, you want all the way down. Enhance, you want all the way down. The low pass filter. Now, if you take this and you move it, you see, it may be hard to see. If you see, I wonder, crap. I may have foobarred that. Oh, brother. I just put it into full screen and I shouldn't have done that. I thought it may expand full screen. So anyways, split frequency down all the way. Enhancer, don't want that down all the way. Low pass, you can see this kind of purple area right here, blue, purple. You got a blue here. Then you got a purple, and you'll see the frequency right here, 4800, 4.8 kilohertz. This low pass, I usually run right at the edge. Okay, the low part of the denoiser. You see where that's running when that signal just came up? It's at the very top edge. And this I have set right at the very top edge of the audio. I don't pay any attention. I pay attention to what's on the spectrum here in the Bitsonic. I don't pay attention to anything else. All right. Now on the high side, this is the amount of noise reduction it applies. So if you have a very weak signal and it seems like it's being gated, check this. You may have to drop this down to here. So there you go. So I'll usually pick like a strong signal and I'll set it to the strongest point, like up there, and you'll see it drop out right there. So I usually keep this set around between 1 and 2 o'clock, and it seems to be perfectly adequate. The recovery knob right here is important. This right here controls how much of the lift you get on the audio. Like I said, you should have audio that's about a signal of an S5, and it should sound like it's 40 over. If you have it set up correctly, it should sound like it's 40 over, literally blasting. And again, what drives it? The AGCT. That's what drives everything. If you find that it's clamped down too tight and you want to pull a signal right off the noise floor, take the AGCT and drop this. Bring it closer to the top peak of your signal. More likely than not, you will not need to do that. Like right here, this signal, how strong it is, he's 10-15 over. I probably could run the AGCT right there. And if I go over to VST host, and I'm not quite sure how to get rid of this. Okay, so if I bring my AGCT down, see how it was still opening up? I'm going to get the audio on. I'm going to tie this.
Whiskey 2, Bravo Sierra, November 4 Foxtrot. Thanks for giving us a call. You're 5'9", you're in Gainesville, Florida. My name is Bob, over.
Okay, so there you go. You guys should be good to go. That pretty much covers everything. Let me check the chat and then I'm out of here. I'm going to get some lunch. Like I said, user error, 99% of the equation. Costa, You are certainly welcome. I wish more people did stuff like this, to be honest with you. I'm going to end it with this. This is kind of cool. Actually, let me...
There are 12 stations across the U.S. and Canada, N1F and 2NF, November 3F.
Notice where that line is on the AGCT. It's terrifying, isn't it? That's basically crushed, and the audio sounds like it's 40, 50 over.
And to pass along fire safety tips to people, over.
Crazy. Absolutely mental. Anyways, what's going on, Paul? Okay. Andy, don't know if I said hello. I'm out of here. Enjoy, guys. Don't call me. Don't talk to me. This is everything I know. If it doesn't work, like I said, it's hardware incompatibility or it's user error. I'm kind of stuck. I just don't have time. I'm sorry. I really wanted to run the radio today and play some radio, but I figured I'd do an all-in-one, and we're off and running. Let me get over the camera really quick. I got something to show you. Woohoo! So let me check this out. I'll let you guys check this out. Guess what I got? So I got a new, I can't wait to play with this. This is a Audio-Technica. What is it? I can't remember. An Audio-Technica. C544L. Now I had an Audio-Technica C. What was it, 410 or something? Years ago. It was expensive. It was like $400 headset. Virtually indestructible. You take the thing, tie it in a knot. These capsules on these AKGs, I'm very curious as to what's going to happen because see this little capsule right here? I don't know if you can see it. There we go. See that little thing? That's the microphone. See this thing? That's the microphone. Now I can tell you that old AKG headset, should have never sold it. It was a 20 to 20 kilohertz frequency response. That damn thing sounded almost, it was so close to a big gun like this, like a large diaphragm studio condenser. It was insane. So what I got this for is I'm hoping to replace this with a head-worn mic. That sounds absolutely stomping. And pardon the audio on the audio. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I'm running the DAW on the audio side. I don't like it. It's not as good. Go in and listen to the last stream. And compare the audio of that to this. I like the rack much, much better than the DAW. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing a stream on that headset. It was about $165. Not cheap, but heck of a lot cheaper than $400. And it got really good reviews. So I'm going to hopefully make good use of that. I've gotten used to like when I operate now, I sit back in the chair, I lean way back. Sometimes I move the chair back and I put my feet up on the desk over there. Like you can see like over to my right over there. The desk extends out to the right and I put my feet up and I have my little PTT, I call it the detonator. PTD detonator. It's push to talk. And I don't even have to be, I could put an extension cord on these things, go sit in a lazy boy over there or something. I love it. So enter the headset. Enough of that. Okay. Looks like that's it. We'll see you guys later. Have a nice day.